I'll call the work session of the school committee to order at 6:44. Ms. Liss, will you please take a roll call?
Here.
Mr. Shabno.
Here.
Ms. Grant.
Here.
Mr. Knight.
Here.
Mr. Larby.
Here.
Mr. Marino.
Here.
Ms. Doobie. Here, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on our agenda is presentation, a year in review.
Yes, good evening, everyone. So it actually says a year in review, but I'm going to say that it's really more like an overview of all the highlights in the work that our entire Pawtucket School Department, all encompassing staff, have done over this past year. It's not inclusive of everything because there's been so much work that is going on. Our staff, our educators, our teachers have been working diligently this entire year to mitigate learning loss and to fill in those gaps. And they've had rich, sustainable curriculum and resources, standard-based assessments with the focus on the whole child. So I want to give a shout out. We have a lot of our staff here tonight, our principals, our central office administrators, we have teachers, we have leaders, we have people here that what it does to look at everything that you do. When we started, you can put up the slide presentation too. When we started just to gather some information of what's transpired over the year, we realized how much had taken place, and we started just saying we can't put in all this, it's just too much, we'll be there like 3 hours. So there's so much that goes on, and it really is a tribute to the hard work of everyone, because it takes, as we said so many times, the whole collaboration of us all working together. So I have my two assistants, Assistant Ramsey and Rabbit. Unfortunately, Assistant Superintendent Rabbit wasn't able to be here tonight, so Assistant Ramsey and I are going to be pitching like we usually do, going back and forth, and we'll be bringing up our leads on each of the priorities. I do want to mention that what we're sharing with you is the highlights based on the goals that we set last August and how we met those goals throughout this year. So when we get it up and running, there we go. And you can put it in presentation mode. Yeah, I think you have to go back to that. Thank you. Give us a pause. It looks like the bulb is not working in the projector right now. It got a lot of work from the previous session. All right, so you can go past that first slide. We're going to start with, go ahead, Assistant Superintendent Ramsey, you can lead us through the strategic priorities.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. We're very pleased to share with you our year in review. And our year in review is guided by strategic priorities. And there are 4 strategic priorities: strong foundations, which encompasses equity and engaged community; shared responsibility and accountability, which encompasses excellence in learning; globally competent citizens, which encompasses world-class talent; and systems improvement, which is governance and structure. And within each of our priorities, there are between 3 and 5 goals, and our leads are going to take you through all of those this evening. Next slide. So there are some key components that we focus on with everything that we do in our strategic priorities. One is to ensure that we have high quality resources. Then is to ensure that we have strong, sustainable partnerships, and we have a commitment and collaboration, accountability to student achievement. Those are the underpinnings of everything that we do throughout our strategic priority. So between our team this evening, we are going to present to you every step along the way in our strategic priorities. And our first lead to walk us through priority number 1 is Mrs. Kim McCahey, the Director of Curriculum.
Good evening. I'm going to present to you priority number 1. Priority number 1 has 3 goals: early childhood, which includes their curriculum assessment and transition this year; our social emotional learning, or our SEL. We talked about tier 1 curriculum for all students in grades K through 12, and our academic curriculum for K through 12. If you go on to the next slide. We'll start with goal 1, which was early childhood. This slide has some highlights and some data. They received a new curriculum and new assessment tool. They received professional development and support and conscious discipline model. And they have recently submitted an application for Bright Stars at Curtis. And Bright Stars is the Rhode Island Rating Improvement System. And we can go on to the next slide. This is from their assessment tool, which is Teaching Strategies Gold. It shows the percent of students from the beginning of the year in blue to the middle of the year, which is where we are right now, in red. And it shows that they have grown in all areas: social, emotional, language, cognitive, and literacy. The next slide. Part of their early childhood goal within priority number 1 is transition to kindergarten. And they're looking at the whole child here, including family, school to school, because we have pre-Ks going to K, and the community as a whole. Next slide. Rhode Island Department of Education has high quality curriculum material continuum that we have to follow as we're implementing all of the new curriculums. On the left-hand side there, you see all the areas that are included in that RIDE tool. And on the left-hand side is the actual link to the Rhode Island Department of Education, where they have a section for us for tools for selection. Again, all of this is so that we have high quality curriculum materials. Green rated, you might also hear them called. And if you go on to the next slide, this is what we have in Pawtucket this year. This year we have the high quality curriculum in the areas of English, math, science, social studies, and world language from K through 12. Some you'll see are noted year one because this was the first year we implemented, and there are some that we have implemented. This is the second year, specifically the English at the secondary level. This is a slide from Savvis Real Life. Savvis is the core program that we use. And this is a sample from the data dashboard that we have. And what it's showing us is in K through 12, every single standard in all of those grade levels and every single individual student, where they are scoring so far within our data platform. The green is they're scoring 80% and above, which is where we would want them to be on this chart. So we're seeing lots of growth with individual standards for all students in grades K through 12. Yes, that's because every single standard is for every single student in that grade
so
level.
it's number of students multiplied by number of standards.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep. All right, next slide. Along with the new curriculum rollout, part of the goal is to provide ongoing support, professional development. So this is those yellow links take you right to the choice boards for the actual professional development days that our teachers have had. You'll notice the 5/11/22 choice board, it's under construction. We're just finalizing that for rollout, hopefully tonight, if not tonight, tomorrow, but those are the actual links. Right below that, where it says register for all PDs and frontline, and then you see something there about civics, that is an actual sample of an additional above and beyond the professional development days, an offering that we provided our teachers, and they would register to sign up for that. Some of them were after school, there were some Saturday ones that they joined, some were virtual, some were in person. If you go to the next slide, this is a listing of all of the types of professional development and ongoing support that was provided to the teachers in the core program, any of our supplemental tools, specific instructional strategies, and also leadership development. This is a sample from the dashboard from Rethink Ed, which is our social emotional learning curriculum. And what that is showing you is the continual usage of the program from October through now, showing a steady increase in the number of students that are logging in and using the system. And if you go on to the next slide, this is one subgroup population. These are multilingual language learner. The professional development that's listed here was for administrators and for teachers. And one of them is being offered on May 11th, so it has not yet happened yet. Sure.
If you go back to Rethink Ed, we have about 1,750 students. Out of how many?
This program is K through 12. At the K level and the lower grade level, sometimes the teacher logs in and they're doing the lesson whole group. It might not be the individual student logging in to do it,
Okay.
especially in the lower grades. It depends on what the lesson is, but they cover social emotional things, how to be a friend, anti-bullying, like reporting things that you're concerned about.
Okay, thank you.
And then the next slide is from Imagine Learning, which is the intervention that's being used in kindergarten through grade 5 for multilingual language level students. And it is showing that although the students are passing them, we're seeing growth in vocabulary and literacy. or multi-language learners versus the students who are not English language learners in both areas. But we are able to take that data system and subgroup it out to show us the areas that we may need to add some more supports in. And later on, you will see the same thing. We broke out the students who are differently abled. We gave you the exact same slide for them.
So my question on this is, superintendent, or you through the superintendent, can you give us a comparison to what it was at the beginning of the year?
That is.
Absolutely, yeah, it's not in the presentation, but we can get that for you, for
Yeah,
sure.
because we
Mhm.
still have a lot of work to do.
We do, but
But
we
I would
have
like,
seen
I
growth.
know
yeah.
we have growth, so I'd like to be able to compare what the growth is and see how far we've come.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, if we go on to the next slide. This is some information, some highlights from our special education department. They have also had some new curriculum. They have new materials called Unique Learning. Unique Learning System. It's for 20 specialized classrooms that go from pre-K through the transition program. They've had some environmental enhancements, some ongoing support for the educators through their monthly PLCs, and they have secured funding for transportation for a vehicle for that. And then the next slide includes, just like I explained for the MLL population, this is the same information that we can pull from the diagnostic tool for special education students. All right, priority number 2, Sarah will walk you through priority 2.
Thank you. Good job. We appreciate your effort.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Priority 2 focuses on the development of instructional leadership to enhance the efforts of improvement. Accountability systems drive the programmatic and service delivery models we use as a district. Strong cultural competence and a lens of equity are the foundation to decreasing bias and building stronger relationships across our district and community. Next. The development of instructional leadership to enhance the efforts of improvement, coupled with accountability systems, drive the programmatic and service delivery models we use here in Pawtucket. Many partners, as you can see from this slide, surround us in this work. Next slide. We are rich in opportunities that occur both after school and beyond. Some of our programmatic highlights include services we provide directly to students and others, and involve partners who allow us to reach families in unique and supportive ways. Featured here are a few of those partners who ensure a holistic model of support and expanded opportunities exist. Next slide. Our Child Opportunity Zone is a long-standing enrichment program for students in Pawtucket. It features STEAM, arts, music, dance, and more. We encourage all students and families to check out what is happening in COSI and participate during the year and in the summer months. Next slide. Much has changed in the realm of accountability in the state of Rhode Island. And it is key that we as a united Pawtucket team understand how the metrics determine our school star ratings, our eligibility for funding, and tiered supports. The report card model focuses on key areas of student academic achievement, growth, absenteeism, and more. The metrics are what drive school and district goals, as well as our action steps. Next slide. And to connect the metrics of accountability with the infrastructure model, this year our organizational framework shifted to include all OTL leads as school liaisons that support the accountability system and infrastructure in our schools. The RIDE School Improvement Framework includes the following areas of focus: turnaround leadership based on evidence and data-driven action steps, climate and culture shifts to elevate roles and relationships, high-quality curriculum materials to ensure standards-aligned instruction and evidence-based practices occur with students, and talent development and collaboration framed with equity for strong procedures, policies, and recruitment and retention. Next slide. Digging into data, the mid-year diagnostic for math shows us significant gap closure across the continuum of student learning. This translates into students making gains across tiered levels of instruction. So I'm going to talk for a minute now about the colors you see represented on these bars. The fall diagnostic is represented on the bottom. The most recent or mid-year diagnostic is represented on the top. Double red signifies students who are 3 or more grade levels below. You can see the decrease was from 33% to 25%, or 537 students. Solid red signifies students who are 2 grade levels below, decreasing from 21% to 13%, or 478 students. Solid yellow signifies students who are 1 grade level below, increasing from 38 to 39%, because as students shift across that continuum from the right to the left, they're growing in terms of proficiency. Solid green signifies early on grade level, increasing from 6 to 15%, or 551 students. And double green signifies mid or above grade level, increasing from 2 to 7%, or 350 students. Next slide. Similarly, when we look at a similar table for ELA, double red signifies students, again, who are 3 or more grade levels below, decreasing from 37 to 27%, or 293 students. Solid red signifies students who are 2 grade levels below, decreasing from 16% to 13%, or 230 students. Solid yellow signifies students who are 1 grade level below, decreasing from 34 to 30, because our numbers again at the top of the continuum jumped, so that was 267 students. And solid green signifies early on grade level, increasing from 11 to 15%, or 253 students. Double green signifies mid or above grade level, increasing from 6 to 15%, 537 students. In Pawtucket, we believe in an integrated tiered system of support model that promotes student wellness, success, and achievement in academics and beyond. These efforts have increased tenfold over this last year as we have many system-wide changes in our procedures and processes that drive services for students and families. By expanding our partnerships, we are increasing our capacity to meet real needs with direct service. Pawtucket has a priority relationship with Bradley Hospital and several agencies which provide support within our continuum of care. Next slide. The integrated tiered system of support model is inclusive of what we call Tier 2 and 3 services that we provide based on input and data that drive the action steps or output of services. This visual is intended to show how we're weaving our internal services together rather than layering them with both our internal and our external providers for cases who require it. Again, as we have navigated a global pandemic and beyond over the last few years, expansion of service provision to meet the growing needs of students and families has been a priority area for Pawtucket. The final area of Priority 2 speaks to cultural competence and equity partnerships that have pushed our Pawtucket team to examine data sets that may not have been a focus in the past. Our partners at Equity Institute and XQRI have encouraged us to take a deeper look at what the expectations of students are post K-12 instruction as they relate to college or career readiness. We need to know this so our system can backwards design our areas for improvement. The state model has shifted to reflect career readiness is in fact inclusive of college readiness to ensure that career readiness is not viewed as a lesser pathway. This strengthens greatly our Pawtucket team's work in the areas of CTE and beyond. Currently, half of the University of Rhode Island students graduate on time. And currently, Rhode Island College only graduates 19% of students on time. This reinforces the many upgrades we have made to high quality curriculum materials this year and beyond, and the push for evidence and research-based instructional strategies to be used across our classrooms. Priority 3 will be introduced by Priority Lead CTE Director Ricardo Pimentel.
Hello, good evening. So priority 3 focuses on globally competent citizens. The goals were personalized learning with individualized learning plans, career and technical education programs, increasing CTE programs and career exploration, expanding that to the middle schools with infrastructural technology such as Project Lead the Way and Z-Space, and educational pathways, increasing our pathways, and pathways to teaching, educators rising. And next slide. So with personalized learning, we successfully implemented ILPs, individual learning plans, with Choices 360 in grades 6 through 12. So all students in grades 6 through 12 have created an ILP. And those focus on goal setting, career exploration, high school planning, career planning, resume building, interview preparation for those in high school, and then college planning, going over applications, FAFSA, and scholarships. The career guides, that image you see there, are also, we gave those out to our 8th graders, and also the 9th graders got a guide as well. We also successfully implemented U-Science in grades 6 through 12 as part of the ILP. And what U-Science is, it's a platform for aptitude and interest surveys for our students. And it's career guidance and exploration. So our students took these brain games that identified career sectors, 3 career sectors that aligned to their interests. And I actually took the survey, and my 3 choices were education, the arts, and culinary, which are perfect for me. And then what we do, we take that data and we share it with the students, and then they further explore those sectors, those career sectors that they're interested in and aligned to. And then we also are sharing that data with our guidance counselors at the middle school so that they can guide our students on career paths. Next slide. So the CTE programs and career exploration, Project Lead the Way at our high school. So at both Shea and Tolman, we started year 1 of Project Lead the Way engineering. And we also explored new CTE programs for the district. Hold on. I think you went one slide. Yeah, that one. Okay, sorry. So yes, the new CTE programs for the district, biomedical science at Shea High School, that has been approved by RIDE. And we have 3 others that we're exploring. So community health workers at Shea, as well as hospitality and tourism at Tolman, and protective services at Tolman. Those last 3 we're going to run for a year and apply for those in September. RIDE has suggested that we do that and run the programs for 1 year and apply again actually in the fall. So I believe applications will be open in October. And then implementation of, supporting CTE certification. So we, both RIDE and the CTE Board of Trustees have been working collaboratively to certify industry experts. So a lot of districts throughout Rhode Island with CTE programs have difficulty finding CTE certified teachers. So they came up with the Cte Certification program, and these teachers go through the program through Roger Williams University. Hence, one of our teachers, Dimitri Ashby, who's here, he is actually going through the program this year, and he will be our first CTE certified teacher for the district for video and film. An implementation of precision exams, that is also platformed through U-Science, but it's for our high school students, and it's certification for students in CTE programs and other content areas. So I know that over at Tolman, Mr. DeRizzo uses it for his program, and Mr. Ashby is going to use it for his here at JMW, but it's also open in other areas such as economics. As long as there's an aligned exam to the course that a teacher teaches, that we have the licenses for these students to take these exams, these precision exams, and it's a certification for a student that they can put on their resume, and employers are more inclined to hire someone that has a certification. Next slide. CTE expansion to our middle schools, Project Lead the Way. We implemented this year successfully at all 3 middle schools. We started with app creators, computer science for innovators and makers, design and modeling, and automation and robotics. These 4 courses are a pipeline for our CTE programs in engineering and computer science. We also implemented our Z-Space labs at all 3 middle schools and all 3 high schools. And again, that's the augmented and virtual reality. I hope all of you had an opportunity to experience those labs and check those out. And we were awarded District of Distinction earlier this year. And we're currently piloting the Z-Space program for, it's called Shape Lab, and it's here at JMW, and it's a digital art program that our students can use here at JMW. In educational pathways, Educator Rising is a program we've been working with the AFT and the Pawtucket Teachers Alliance for a teaching pathway to encourage our students to go into teaching. We're going to have the elective course at Tolman and Shea, and eventually that will be a CTE pathway. I know Ms. Christina DePriest's been working on that really hard, and it is going to be successful. And Project Lead the Way Engineering at both Shea and Tolman is going to go into year 2. And we are also going to start Medical Detectives. It's a course for our middle schools, which will be the pipeline for biomedical science to get our kids interested in that.
Priority 4, correct? Priority 4. So priority 4 is an all-encompassing. So I'm going to ask Assistant Superintendent Ramsey, Mrs. Cristino, Mr. Cristino, Mr. Cody. It's about systems improvement. And systems improvement is actually looking at the way you operate your systems. Systems could be communication, transportation, construction, communication, and our data system. So the first goal that we had this year was looking at our student information system. And we did go out for an RFP, and we'll be doing some demos and presentations coming up over the next couple of weeks regarding that. So we will have an understanding of how we're moving forward, because the way data is now and how important it is in collecting it, we need a very robust system. Also, we're going to be talking about, our goal was having a district-wide communication platform, and then also safe school environments, because everything that we do, we need to make sure that we have safe schools and care and wellness over our students. And then school renovation and construction. So you can go to the next slide. This speaks to the evolution of data. As I just said, the way we're collecting data and the need for data has grown so much. It's changed from a requirement of unstructured data and a need for structured data. So you need a very robust system. And you can go to the next slide. And Mrs. Assistant Superintendent Ramsey, you want to talk about the initiative for social emotional?
I certainly can. Thank you. So we have safe school environments, and that encompasses the Nathan Bruno, RIGL, suicide awareness and prevention, that all are all our people will be going through. Bradley Partnerships, which encompass the professional development and clinical observations. We have now a tremendous amount of referral services. We have youth mental health and first aid services, expanding the use of screening tools and internal routing of SEL flags within our SIS system. I'd like to ask Lynn Christino to come on up because she has taken over the Transportation and Registration Department and has really revamped the way the system works for central registration and transportation. Lynn.
Sure. Just go forward. Thank you. So I have to give credit to the team that I joined in September. One full-time person who is still there and has embraced the change and has just been an incredible source of wisdom and given us guidance, Deb Finley, but she's also taken on everything new that we've tried with Open Arms, which was huge for me. And then we have a new, filled the full-time position in January with Geraldine Peppis. We have her there as well. And they've just, like I said, embraced it, and we were very lucky to have them. So since September, our online registration, we've processed over 1,600 applications. That's fully online, and that doesn't even include all of the paper folders. I have nightmares of, you know, the number of folders that were everywhere when we were paper. We've gone completely online, and it's been huge. It's been a big change. So I know it's hard for you to see up here. You have copies in front of you. But really, just to give you a sense, the chart on the left is just showing just this school year registrations that came in by grade level. So it starts from 1 through 12, and then we see the big jump with kindergarten and pre-K. But it does show you that we do get registrations all year for all grades. Over on the right, those are all the different schools. So all of our schools, we're bringing new kids in all the time. So just to kind of give you a little sense of that. And we've already processed, it says around 60, we're probably at least 70 applications online for next school year already. So we've already opened it up, and we've had people already registering for next year. And we can go to the next slide. Just some examples. These are some of the changes that we've implemented. As I mentioned, we've gone 100% online. However, we know that people need support, and we offer that in many ways. Phone support, you can often hear one of the team members talking people through what they see on their screen. We have screenshots, so we know exactly what they would be seeing, walking them through, and that's often all they need. But if they need more, we do make appointments in person. So we'll work around someone's schedule that will work for them, that they can come in and actually do it in person with one of us. And we've started some, you know, little enhancements, like we have a document camera out there when they come, so we can take a picture of their documents without walking away with it and going into another room, because sometimes people are bringing us a passport, a driver's license, something that instead of us leaving with it and coming back, we can do that right in front of them. It's faster for us, and we think people are more comfortable that way. We have email templates, so whenever there's a situation that we're letting people know that there are things that are incomplete in their packet, or a complete registration, we have them in multiple languages already. So we, based on the language that the person says they speak when they fill out the registration, we reply. We always include it in English as well, because we have found that many will go to the school and say, I got this email. And so we want to make sure that the person at the school can also read what we said. And so we do have those templates in multiple languages. And I did just put a little sample. One great thing about Google with the Gmail is that you can translate emails that come in. So even though you can do that, like I said, we do put it in multiple languages. And it was just an example here of one we sent out and a response that we got that, you know, very appreciative from someone who said in their own language, thank you so much for your help. It's greatly appreciated. So that was just a little sample that I pulled for you there. We also have started with shared Google Sheets with special education and the EL department to expedite placements. Instead of
someone taking an IEP and printing IEP and running the IEP downstairs and handing it to someone who's going to hand it to someone who's going to do something with it, and then fill out something and bring it back and run it back. Although probably not getting as many steps for people, we, now we can handle it in a way that it's electronic. We don't have to worry about it changing hands. And we've heard positive responses from those departments too, because they know exactly that someone in the department has taken care of it, and we're not losing track of who's waiting as long. So that's been very helpful as well. And then we'll move on to the next department, which is student transportation. This is just to give you a little idea. We do have a new student transportation manager who has joined us, and his name is Nathaniel. We're very fortunate that he also speaks Spanish. And I did ask him just out of curiosity, and he said he estimates probably about 25 to 30% of the phone calls he is speaking Spanish. So it's really definitely been, I think, a great thing to offer to our families as well. So just looking at students, these are students that qualify at the current distance and are actually taking a bus. So there are more that qualify that may, for whatever reason, not be taking a bus. Parents are driving them, or they're still walking further. But we do have about 1,000 of our elementary kids who are currently taking the bus. And we actually even went through the sign-in sheets, and if they had not shown up on a bus for the whole week, we didn't count them. We actually counted bodies on the seats. And then we'll look at the secondary. Just to give you an idea, with our middle school kids, we're looking at around, between 600 and 700, and our high school kids between 100 to 200 kids. The thing that I do want to point out is that those of the kids who are signed up and have an assignment, the majority are actually taking the bus. We don't have many kids who are signing up and then not showing up. That was kind of the question, is like, okay, are we, do we have kind of false numbers that we think we need all these buses? And we don't, which is why we asked for a student to give us actual counts one week. And like I said, we went through to check and see how many kids were actually riding the bus, and the children are. So that's just a quick rundown in central registration and transportation. Like I said, we're open to improvement. We like hearing things that we can do to make things better, and I think we're moving forward. Sure.
So if a parent trying to register places a phone call, where does that go?
So we have 2 phone numbers for registration. A lot of times, to be honest with you, the people who are doing that are just hitting 0 and asking for help, and they get Maria or at the reception, which is, we're very fortunate that she understands both Spanish and Portuguese, and then she can help guide them. And put them through to us, or she can help them because she has access to the registration system to see. If they do follow the prompts or call one of the numbers on the website, it will go to one of the 2 full-time people, and they're always there backing each other up. My number's there as well. And I would say, if anybody calls, they're getting a call back that same day. If somebody's out, we automatically transfer the call so that we don't have messages waiting for someone. One of the big changes is that we use one email now, registration@pscri.net, because what I found is that if I'm helping a family and then suddenly I was out, that's going to my email. Nobody else can check my email, and they wouldn't be able to help that family. So we use one email address, but we have multiple signatures with our initials, so we always know who responded to that parent. It doesn't mean they have to be the one to respond back, but at least if I have a question or I know someone's working with them, and we kind of label things as emails come in so that we make sure that we're taking care of it. And I can't forget, I did forget, but I can't forget Amanda Correa, who's in the special ed department, is working with the preschool registration, which has been a huge help as well. Another person who's been very open to learning and helping families.
Thank you for that. I think it's critically important that we continue to streamline the points of contact. More often, the biggest complaint I hear out in the district is I call down there and got bounced around, or it's hard to connect with anybody. Mm-hmm. So the more we can streamline it and have one dedicated line or email address, yeah, I think the better it is for our families. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I got a few things in technology I'd like to go over. One of the big communication pieces that we implemented this year was our Kinvo. and that's our two-way communication between parents and teachers. And what this simple slide here just shows a number of messages that's been exchanged. This was as of March 1st. This is first year of implementation. We implemented this back in August, and up to March 1st, we had 392,389 messages that were exchanged between the teachers and students and staff at the building as well. Sorry, and I want to clarify that parents of the students. It's a communication. This means that the parent replied back to the teacher. So about 33.98% of those messages that went out had some sort of reply back from a parent or guardian. And then the next number there, the 40.25%, that's the monthly average use throughout with sending out a message. Once again, this is an easy one because, I mean, technology implemented it, but this is all about the teachers and the staff using it with the parents. So I want to say I can't take credit for this. We just put it out there for a few. But I mean, there was some implementation. Don't get me wrong.
I get these as a parent. So many of the messages I get, I don't reply to because it might be a message that's, just a reminder, bring in your projects tomorrow, something like that. But as you said, it is nice that if I want to say, oh, Nora actually isn't going to be at school tomorrow or something like that, I can just send a response right then and the teacher can get back to me,
Exactly.
which didn't exist before in the kind of just push out method.
Exactly.
Sorry, Ms. Vanilla, Ms. Grant?
Can you tell, are all of our teachers using this?
So could we go in and start looking at, I want to preface this with, will all the teachers use it? No, because I think it all depends on, the function. I think the reply rate and the amount of use we're getting is Kinvo themselves reached out to me and they said that we were one of those districts that is using it much more than most districts are using it. So I was happy to hear that. I also, like all of you, probably get bombarded with messages, your warranty is about to expire, take that seriously. But it becomes the overuse of the technology. And I think this is one of those tools that we're using it properly. So is every single teacher using it all the time? No, the next slide will actually give us a little bit more of an indication of that. And so, and this next slide here, what this is showing is the messages are exchanged by month, and and then the reply rate that you'll see up there, and it's kind of what we would think. Remember, we implemented this back in August at the beginning of the school year, and you'll see the data trends month by month. In February, not to be as to be expected, February short month, school vacation week, less messages. Where we had a very large climb in December, because you might argue and say, well, we also had a school vacation week in December. One of the things that happened there during December, if you remember back, we were very fearful of the pandemic coming back with students going home for Christmas vacation, and a lot of teachers and a lot of schools use Kinvo to send out messages about the Chromebooks plugs going home and the Chromebooks themselves going home. So I think it's being used for the intent, as we get testing, even in school and assignments and things like that going out, activities that happen at the buildings, staff is using them for that fashion. And then the reply rate. And as Ms. Doobie was saying, sometimes a message is simply that. It is a one-way, and Kinvo allows us to do that. And then sometimes there's a reply that parents can reply back. Next slide is, if you remember back early in the beginning of the school years, technology had applied for the emergency connectivity funds, and that was almost $2 million worth of Chromebooks. There are 6,290 Chromebooks for students need at home. So these funds were spent this year with the company that won the RFP for it. They've come in now and we've prepped them. And with the beginning of the school year, these devices will be going home with students as school starts in at the beginning of the year. Some of them are already in the buildings ready to go, and we're waiting on the last shipment of those to come in. But that was almost $2 million worth of funds that we applied for a grant and were able to receive. Yeah, I'm very excited. Yeah, it's very nice to have those devices for our students. And the next slide. So this is our last the project we're working on over the break. These interactive panels, I'd like to thank this committee for approving the funds for this project. We started putting these in over the last April vacation. We actually have a crew working tonight till 1 o'clock in the morning at golf. We made sure that all of this would happen, you know, outside of school hours so they wouldn't interrupt. So we are, and now once again, I want to thank members of my department who have flexed their time to come in and work till 1 o'clock in the morning with the crew that we have from out from Pennsylvania that's installing these boards here. And we've seen some nice comments on Facebook as these are going into classes and being used. And basically that's the projector that you see here. It wasn't planned, I promise. I didn't turn off the projector at the beginning of this, but walking in the middle of a projector blocking as opposed to these devices that come out and they're on the boards, and that's one that's been installed at one of at Agnes Little actually when I created a video there for teachers to start using those. So once I would like to thank the committee for that because you're the one that made it happen by giving us the funds for that.
Here.
There are actually two coming for here. We wanted to get these out in the classroom first, and we're going around and going building by building. And this project will be completed by. We're actually ahead of schedule by June. We started last week, and it'll be completed by June 1st. So thank you, and that's over 330 boards that are going to be installed. So thank you.
I'm going to break it up into two phases. First, renovation. As you notice, I only did one slide and I didn't fit everything. So renovation and construction projects for the last fiscal year. We did new rooftop units over at Curvin, including a building maintenance system, which will control those units and control the temperatures in the classrooms. New skylights for all the interior rooms that didn't have natural lighting before, and it made a big difference to a lot of the teachers. New ceilings throughout the building and LED lighting. I don't know if you've been in the building, but it's a big difference when you upgrade. That's why I know when we do an additional 5 schools this summer, I think it's going to make a big difference. We also replaced 10 rooms with vinyl composite tile that used to have rugs. New concrete pathway, which just was completed last week. If you haven't seen it, it really came out nice. It does make a big difference in that building until you actually see it. We installed new boilers with a building maintenance system that control the units, ceiling fans throughout in every classroom, including, I believe, in the lounge and workspaces. All unit vents were evaluated, cleaned, and fixed. Curtis, we also did new ceiling fans throughout the building also. I would like to say, beyond doing that, my crew went out and they do their projects in the summer. Every summer we have to do certain things like running new lines for AC units for summer programs where I don't know how they do it, but they always somehow find the ability to fit in more air conditioners to where we're probably not going to be able to anymore, but they still do it. Replacement of classroom heaters during the summer, upgrade of exterior lighting in some of the buildings, parking lot improvements, new fencing in several of our areas, Curtis being one of them. Replacement of 10 classrooms of old carpet between barrier and the annex. Some toilet upgrades and sink upgrades in our school. And that's basically what they would do in the summer. They do the projects they know that are going to take multiple weeks, and they try to finish that in the summertime, besides doing their normal routine workload that they get through me passed on to them from school.
Just as a big thank you to everyone, because like I said before, as we move forward into this next year, we will continue to have the 4 priorities of strong foundations, excellence in learning, world-class talent, and systems improvement, but we will be bringing our stakeholders back together to plan new goals going into the 22-23 school year. So I just want to give a shout out to all our presenters, all of our staff, our teachers. You know, it's a total, what I would call a world-class work of art, just to pull this all together and continue to offer high-quality programming, high-quality staffing, high-quality education for our students and families. And in working with partners too makes a huge difference. So thank you to everyone.
Thank you so much for the presentation. Our next item on the agenda is public participation. Our first person signed up is Jamil George.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Jamel Jorge. That's okay. Everyone's making a mistake, and I usually write down how to pronounce it, and I didn't do it today. So my name is Jamel Jorge. I'm the education director at FirstWorks, and I'd like to provide the school committee with some brief insight into the proposed MOU from FirstWorks to operate a summer arts camp for the Pawtucket school students. So as the education director, best part of my job is the ability to connect art and artists with students, and this proposed 5-week summer program will allow us students to experience an arts integrated curriculum that goes wildly beyond anything that FirstWorks usually does for students throughout the state. Generally, we're providing arts experiences for usually around 5,000 students a year throughout the state. This year it's been 2,000 because of the pandemic and stuff like that, and as things have been opening up, it's been getting a little better. So while we usually offer teachers in schools various workshops, artist talks, matinees, and concert tickets with professional artists, this program will allow students to engage more deeply with diverse music, dance, theater, and visual artists. It goes beyond the standard 1 hour or less arts exposure classroom experiences by enabling students to create alongside these artists throughout the summer to learn what they can express and how to express it. It aligns FirstWorks' Raise Your Voice theme, which focuses on how we understand, develop, and use our voices for social justice, the school districts on the Rise theme, which seeking to provide support and develop. The program's not just about introducing art to students, but giving them the space to explore and share their own creativity. So I have no doubts that the committee recognizes the importance and immeasurable benefits of that students gain from having access to arts education. But I'm sure the most significant point of discussion tonight will be the consideration of our MOU and whether or not to fund the summer opportunity for 40 students from the 5th to 7th grades. So I want to share the impact that funding can have on multiple actors for this project if the committee so chooses to go forward with it. First, the Pawtucket District have the opportunity to support local and extraordinary artists to FirstWorks standards. We're one of the premier organizations in Rhode Island that pays our affiliated artists a wage that recognizes the engagement and the body of work associated with their employment with FirstWorks and the time it takes to plan curriculums and lessons to our standards that we bring into schools. Second, the funding will support FirstWorks' small education department and the time it takes for us to curate, contract, and develop curriculums with artists who might not always be teachers or have the educational experience, but we work with those artists to make them great teachers in the classroom. And aside from that, that also helps to cover our own administrative labor, train and compensate camp counselors that we propose for this plan, and otherwise plan every detail for the 5-week program. And lastly, and most importantly, funding for this program will provide Pawtucket students with an experience that not many other Rhode Island students would be able to experience this summer. The kind of relationships that they're going to be able to create with artists over these 5 weeks, where we're not just bringing an artist for a 1-hour workshop, but working with fewer artists with multiple engagements, where they can actually mentor students, help them to create, help them to learn about different arts, but connect all those arts to bigger ideas that aren't just about the arts themselves, but about a lot of other social issues. Is really kind of the most important thing that is most beneficial to the students, but is really something that goes beyond usually what we can provide as you know, our structure of not what we do as a nonprofit, which is usually bring artists from all over the world who do a concert. We bring them into schools one time, and after that, it's kind of nothing. So this is an opportunity where students are going to get to experience working with an artist in a longer term setting. And through that long-term setting, through this 5-week program, are able to actually create themselves and put their own artistic creations for display at the end of this. So it's not just coming in and learning, but actually getting those students to create, which I think is really awesome. So when the time comes later in the agenda, I'd be happy to respond to and answer any questions or comments. And I thank you for your consideration.
Next on the agenda is Gail Allers.
It's a tough act to follow. That's really wonderful. Someone who believes in the arts. Fun. Can you hear me now? Okay. Thank you for letting me speak with you all today. I'm here for 2 reasons, and I have given you some handouts. And the first, and I apologize for not being able to attend the facilities meeting, but I was teaching. I wanted to bring to the forefront all the communications that have happened around the renovations of Baldwin Elementary School, and particularly the way the Empowerment Factory has been involved with the pollinator garden that we had put in with a community development block grant at Baldwin Elementary. There's been several meetings and very lengthy emails, and I have to say that I am really pleased with the progress that I have seen in the development of what is a school garden. In the beginning, it was just going to be a community garden. Now the understanding the difference between a pollinator garden, a school garden, a community garden, those are very different things. And also in relation to the memorial stone that is in the school garden, and that it will be removed and stored respectfully and then put in one of the gardens at Baldwin when it's done. And I recognize there are so many elements with renovating this school and changing, and you all have been doing a great job of coming together and listening and working. And when we had met, when Cheryl and Lee and Clovis and Chris met to talk about this thing privately, just to talk about some of the details, I was so pleased with the fact that the new plans for the Baldwin renovation has a pollinator garden, and that in communicating the details, it's very important because of the fact that there was federal funding used to create this garden, and the fact that the current plans, as I understand them, is that there will be a pollinator garden about the same size, and that the Empowerment Factory will take on our stewardship of that garden once it is complete. The only other fact about that garden that I'd like to bring up is that I am looking for a place in the community to repurpose those stones, and looking for community partners to come together to make that happen. Nathaniel Green seems to be interested, and we're talking to Groundworks. And if any of you care to be involved or have any thoughts about where the stones could be repurposed in Pawtucket to benefit another school ground, I would be very much be willing to discuss that with you, because we know that the garden itself will be demolished if we don't do anything, and it would be a shame to have all those stones just plowed into a landfill. And the second aspect of what I've come here to talk to you about is the Empowerment Factory is a small local nonprofit that has been working very actively with lots of collaboration within our community, with the Child Opportunity Zone, with the Parks Department, and there are many different elements that are moving and changing, and I'm asking for your help on how I can better serve the families of Pawtucket We have we have an ARPA grant, we have 2 community development block grants. I've been going around and asking people, what do you need and how can we help? We're a small organization, we're nimble, and we've brought a lot of funds and a lot of effort to the schools here, and our heart is here in Pawtucket, and I just would like to grow that partnership. So thank you so much for your time.
And last we have Sergeant Major Smith.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. McWilliams, thank you all for providing me the opportunity to be here this evening. I'm here this evening in regards to a field trip request form that Colonel Richardson, the senior Marine instructor for the Tolman JROTC, had submitted. And basically what it is, we're looking to have about 16 of our JROTC cadets on an overnight field trip, which is basically in support of the New England Ragnar Relay Race, which goes from Groton, Connecticut to Quincy with a Z, Massachusetts. So I kind of make fun of y'all's accent sometimes, so I'll throw that in there. But anyhow, what it is our cadets wouldn't actually be running the 200-mile race. They will actually be working exchange point at Norton High School in Norton, Massachusetts. And it starts, I think the colonel had put in the from 4:15 p.m. to 5 p.m. from 20 May to 21 May. Sometimes the military civilian time messes us up a little bit. So it's actually from 4:15 on Friday, May 20th in the afternoon until 5 a.m. on Saturday morning. So it's about 13 hours in which myself and the colonel and approximately 16 cadets would be supporting this relay race. And basically what we would be doing in that, the relay race consists of teams of 12 runners. And typically they're in 2 vans. And they basically leapfrog, in this case from Groton, Connecticut, all the way up through Connecticut, through Rhode Island, into Massachusetts, and on up to Quincy. And as they do that, there are different exchange points where they trade off on the relay. And at the exchange points, the Ragnar asks for volunteers and individuals to help support. So part of that for us would be we would announce incoming runners as they approach the exchange, record the runner of arrival times, manage traffic flow basically of the runners that are coming in and also of the vans that the other runners are coming in to swap out with. Keep parking organized, restock supplies, and keep the exchange area free of litter, and also help with the setup and the tear down at the different exchange points. I myself had an opportunity to run the Ragnar in New Hampshire last year, and a great time. Basically, the Ragnar Relay, it's a distance relay race, and it promotes healthy lifestyles, team building, and lifelong memories and relationships. And I can attest that all of those things occurred when I got the opportunity to run my race last year. Each cadet under the year 18 years of age required a parental consent form by the Ragnar themselves. And in addition, we do our standard Tolman JROTC parental consent form on each cadet and keep that on file. And also, all cadets that are involved with this event have to be 16 years of age, and that is per the Ragnar. And both the colonel and I will be at the event for this entire time. Also, I believe the colonel also requested to use the Pawtucket School Department van, and we will reimburse any fuel costs, because ultimately Ragnar will pay us $2,500 for supporting this race, which we will utilize in the Tolman JROTC Booster Club, which helps defray the cost of some of our events that we do. I believe the colonel and 2 cadets were here last week. And back in March, we had an opportunity. I took 12 cadets down to New York City. We had the opportunity to go up World Trade Center 1. And so some of the Booster Club funds helped pay for that, for the tickets going up in the World Trade Center 1. And I believe a great meal that we had in Staten Island also came from the Booster Club. So if anyone has any questions, that's all I have for y'all this evening. Thank you so much. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Good luck with your marathon this weekend.
Thank you. Yes.
So the next item, Ms. Grant, are you good with do you have a question? We do have the item coming up later, but if you have a question, for Sergeant Major before he leaves.
I do, and I don't know if our attorney can weigh in. I'm just wondering if legally, if we can really give permission for our students to do this. And the reason I ask is, I know this is volunteer, but if our students worked in a real job under the age of 18, they're not allowed to work over a certain time. And this sounds like it's an overnight thing. And I just want to make sure if our students aren't going to be sleeping and they're going to be working at a checkpoint, are they by law able to do this?
With their parents' permission, they can participate and volunteer activities.
Okay, so really it's not up to us, it's up to their parents, correct? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda, thank you for our public participants. The next item on our public agenda is approval of previous meeting minutes, 3/29/22 and 4/12/22. Then motion to approve the previous meeting minutes by Ms. Manolo, seconded by Ms. Grant. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries 6-0. The next item is our second passage. I know Ms. Grant brought this to our attention. I know you weren't at the previous meeting, but it did move through first passage. So we are looking to change the start time to 6 p.m. Also, Mr. Knight, as you will see, brought a second item up here, and there's a second cross through for chairperson moving to the term of school committee. So there's 2 cross throughs in this second passage. Then a motion to approve the second passage by Mr. Knight, it's been seconded by Ms. Manolo and Ms. Grant. Any discussion? Ms. Lucy, please take a roll call.
Ms. Manolo.
Yes.
Ms. Grant.
Yes.
Mr. Knight.
Yes.
Mr. Larby.
Yes.
Mr. Marina.
Yes.
Ms. Doobie.
Yes, the motion carries 6-0. We're now in new business discussion action items, MOU New England Tech Summer Enrichment.
Have Mr. Pimento come up and speak to them.
Hello again. Hi. Before you is a request to approve MOU between New England Institute of Technology and the Pawtucket School Department for summer enrichment program, July 11th through August 5th. It's a 4-week program. New England Tech will conduct a summer camp with a maximum cohort size of 12 campers in grades 9 through 12. They will accommodate up to 3 cohorts for a total of 36 students. Acceptance into the program will be on a lottery basis. New England Tech will utilize both the East Greenwich and Access Road Warwick campuses to hold the camp. The camp will be from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. with a lunch break from 11:30 to 12:30. Lunch will be provided by New England Tech for our students, and transportation to and from New England Tech will be provided by the Pawtucket School Department. The New England Tech summer camp will include the following: classroom and lab activities, such as automotive, criminal justice, digital media production, digital photography, drone and robotics, esports, entrepreneurship, game time, graphic design, and physical therapy assistant. This MOU has been vetted by our legal representation, the school department's legal representation.
And a motion to approve the MOU by Mr. Sharman, the second by Ms. Grant. Ms. Bonolo, then Mr. Sharman.
2 questions.
Yes.
Is there a grading requirement attached to participation as there was for the summer camps?
Yeah, it's the same as the
It's the
summer.
same grading?
Yes.
Okay. And the other question I have, which would go for this program and for any others. If a student enrolls to go to a camp and then goes the first day or the first 2 days and stops going, are we going to fill it in with another student?
That would, yes. Yeah, because I'm assuming there'll be we'll have a waiting list.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Sharman?
That answers it. So it's not a lottery, so to speak. you have to meet a certain criteria, right?
It is a lottery that we tailor our programming to create opportunities for our students and families based on needs. And I believe there's a procedure in place. Kim, it's not here. Yeah.
So basically, when we're looking at summer programs, we're looking at, in the past, what we've always done is have only summer programs for ramp up or content recovery. And we provide those to those students who need it. And part of the ESSA funding was, in addition to doing that, to have supplemental programs for students who wouldn't go to that. So if you're a student that is in need of, a ramp up in a particular content area, we are required to provide that for you and have those services available for you. But also what we've added to it, and we'll be adding this year, is an enrichment portion of that as well. So we wanted to have additional programming, supplemental, such as these types of camps for those students who wouldn't participate in another program, like what we call a Title I or content recovery program.
So, but it's educationally, anyone in the community.
Yes, yes.
And there is a lottery process that was created that we can send a copy to the committee.
Yes, we can send that.
Mr. Knight.
Hello. Mr. Charbonneau. Ms. Grant. Mr. Knight.
Yes.
Mr. Larby. Mr. Marino. Ms. Doobie.
Yes. Motion carries 7-0. The next is the First Works MOU and independent contractor. Oh, sorry, MOU First Works. I'm sorry, guys. I'm scattered. First Works MOU.
Hi. So before you was a request to approve MOU between First Works and the Pawtucket School Department for summer enrichment programming from June 27th to August 5th. It's a 5-week program. As you heard earlier, First Works is an arts organization whose mission is to enrich Rhode Island's cultural, educational, and economic vitality by engaging diverse audiences with world-class performing, arts, and education. First Works will administer a unique learning opportunity for students in the Pawtucket School District that connects students with professional artists as they explore their artistic creations and artistic careers related to our theme in Pawtucket on the Rise. The 5-week program features daily activities and camp counselors and experienced artists who will teach team building, meditation, and creative and expressive skills, all concentrated in music, theater, dance, and visual art. The program will also take students on 4 excursions to artistic and cultural venues in Rhode Island for workshops with creative practitioners in the community. Students will reflect and connect different artistic styles, social and cultural learning, and expressive practices to create their art showcased on the camp's last day. The program is open to 40 students in Pawtucket in current grades 5 through 7, which will be 6 through 8 in the next school year. And this MOU has been vetted by our legal representation.
The motion to approve by Ms. Bonello, and seconded by Mr. Larby. Ms. Bonello, and then Ms. Grant.
Have you or anyone reviewed the curriculum of artistic journey that our students are going to go on?
I've met with Mr. Jorge, who was actually here speaking earlier. We've met with him several times to go over all of the curriculum, yes.
So what would, it's age appropriate content?
Yes, for middle schoolers. Yes.
Thank you.
Where does it take place?
It will take place here at Jenks, in the auditorium, between the auditorium and the GMW art room. So it'll be those two spaces.
Okay, so the parents would transport the children?
We will be transporting middle schoolers here to come here.
And where would they be picked up from? Yeah.
So that is a discussion I had this morning actually with Mrs. Cristino. We are most likely going to have pickups at the middle school. Right? Yeah, well, at each middle school and then targeted spots in the city.
Okay. So that was gonna be my question, but Mr. Knight, you can go first.
Are they gonna run background checks
Yep, so they will provide us with a letter as well that
on
their,
everybody?
camp counselors are, background check.
And that is in the MOU, yes.
Yes, yes.
So that was my question. When Mr. Jorge spoke, I was gonna ask at that point, but this is a program just for Pawtucket students?
Correct.
Okay, and just to clarify, are you running this in any other districts, or is this, okay. But, and there are excursions with transportation?
Yeah, there'll be 4, yes.
Seeing no further discussion, Ms. Lucinda, roll call?
Ms. Spinella? Mr. Charbonneau? Ms. Grant? Mr. Knight?
Yes.
Mr. Larby? Mr. Marino? Ms. Doobie?
Motion carries 7-0. The next item is debt services payments to the city. So there was an ad hoc budget meeting last week. And out of that came this item, and Dr. McWilliams, who was at the meeting, can explain what came out of it. And any motion tonight, if there is a motion to move forward with this, would be to move forward with creating an MOU. So this won't be the only time we see this on the agenda. There would obviously be an official vote on an MOU if the committee decides to move in that direction. Mr.
Amendment to the budget?
So Dr. McWilliams can explain.
If I can explain, and I'm going to just do a quick review too, for those who may have not been here when the budget was approved. But on April 12th, the committee voted to approve the submitted budget by CFO Melissa and I for the FY23 school year. The budget was representative of already including significant cuts to curriculum, technology, and building maintenance, as also including deductions for what Mrs. Devine would define as like breakage or lag in salary lines that would be in reference to any turnover in staff or any upcoming retirements and additional breakage or lag in medical. So the budget did include, even with those cuts, the budget did include a request of the city for an appropriation of $1.297 million, and that was so that we could continue to focus on high quality education in support of our students and also maintain our staff. As I said back at that budget meeting, we're in a critical time, and maintaining our staff and maintaining our programs, as you saw from the presentation tonight, and what we're hearing about how we're moving forward is really important. 2 days later, after the school committee approved that, I did forward a letter with the budget to the city, indicating an overview of the budget and the inquiry or request of the increase of 1.297. The following week, which was last week on April 19th, the CFO and myself and Deputy Chair Moreno were invited to an ad hoc meeting that included the council president and finance chair, the mayor and the city administrator, Dylan Zalazzo, along with their CFO, Joanna, and Councilor Mercer. A discussion entailed, that meeting had 3 items on the agenda, and it was to inquire as to the city and school side of our current FY22 school year as to where we were standing, and also any capital projects, and then also a discussion of the FY23 budget. So those things did entail, and when we got to the FY23 budget, the city did indicate that they wanted to support schools, but they were looking for opportunities in which that they could do that would not indicate an increase in the city budget. They wanted a zero budget. And so they discussed an opportunity such as they would provide us with the 1.3 million in the request if we were able to, if the school department was able to pay the city obligation of a 3 million in debt service, or if they were to include a 1 million city appropriation from the city in our request, then they would want the school department to pay 2 million in school debt service. So both CFO and I, along with Deputy Chair Moreno, did indicate that this was something that we would need to bring to the full school committee, as myself or CFO or a single school committee member does not have that authority to speak on behalf of the school committee. So that's what is bringing us here tonight for this discussion. So the discussion, from what my understanding, is their ask of entertaining the thought of our ask being if they were to give the school department 1.3 million in increase in appropriation, would the school department or the school committee consider a 3 million to the city to support them in their city appropriation of debt service? Or if it wasn't that, it would be 1 million to the city, to the school department request for 2 million for the city in their debt service.
And as this conversation gets started, I'm sure that there's a lot of people who want to speak on this. I have already reached out to legal counsel because I understand that if we look at last year, we paid debt service and then signed an MOU, and this all happened, and then there was no increase to the budget. So I have already spoken with legal counsel about if we signed an MOU and made it effective in June after the budget process was done, how would that work? And also that basically I personally do not feel like any money should be expended until we are sure where the budget stands completely by city council. So that, like I said, I've already had some questions with that, but our attorney can speak to that if anyone has further questions on that. But Mr. Charbonneau?
I'm a little confused as to, there was a budget ad hoc meeting after the school committee approved our budget?
Yes,
Yeah.
we were invited to a ad
Well,
hoc meeting.
That, I guess I want, this body voted to approve a budget and push the budget forward to the city council for review. Why would we have a budget ad hoc meeting after the fact and then come back with what sounds like a quid pro quo, that if we pump in 3 million in debt service, they'll fund our ask of 1.3 million? The timing confuses me. We had an approved budget by this body unanimously. Then it sounds like there was a subsequent meeting, and now one member of this committee who was at the meeting is asking the entire committee to reconsider the budget. Is that, I don't know, do I have that right?
Sorry, Mr. Marino.
This would be an MOU from our legal council to the city solicitor, which finds the use of the ask from the city, so we wouldn't be changing our ask of the 1.3
Right, it
billion.
would be affecting our budget because we would have to give $3 million from somewhere in our budget to the city, correct?
So is the
debt service. What we have in that, and I'll ask, is that reflected in our operating, or is that money allocated that we cannot use or amend?
My understanding is that the debt service, similar to last year, would be paid out of this year's operating budget surplus. That it's not connected to our budget that we're proposing 2022 to 2023. But Dr. McWilliams, can you clarify that? That's Dr. McWilliams.
Yes.
Is there a budget surplus this year?
So, we haven't gone through an audit for this year, but we're projecting, so like I said, we're projecting for the FY22, we're projecting tracking about 1.8 million ahead in salaries based on retirements, turnover, jobs not being filled. So it's projection. We won't know until the end of June. However, there is a fund balance from last year, if you recall. 3.9 fund balance from last year.
In surplus.
Well, you don't call it, it's a fund balance that hasn't been moved to capital. So the fund balance is school department funds from last year. It's already going through the audit.
But it's still in the hands of the city.
I don't understand.
It hasn't been turned over to the schools, has it? We haven't moved it yet.
It's not moved into capital, correct. So, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. So correct. So the fund balance 3.9, which is from last year, FY21, has not been moved to capital. That's why it's called the fund balance. Once it goes to capital, it's capital. With that being said, I believe at the April 12th meeting, someone requested what the capital was, and I did reach out. CFO Divine wasn't able to make it here tonight. She is away on vacation, but she did give me the data on that. Our capital account right now is projecting to end this year at 3.1 million. If you recall, we started at a little over 7 million last year, but then we've done a lot of projects throughout the year, and that's how we've been able to do those projects because of the capital. So yes.
Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. I was just going to indicate that.
I just have a concern. Should our CFO be here when we discuss this? Yeah. Like, I just think this is something that our CFO really should be here for. I think obviously there's been a question, and I think if we have questions, we don't need, I think, or it might, because whatever the decision is, we don't want to have regrets afterwards. So whatever numbers or whatever answers we need, I think we need definite ones. And I think really when it comes down to our finances, the only one who can give us definite answers is our CFO, Melissa Devine. And I think it's very inappropriate to have this meeting this evening without her here. I think it puts us all in a very bad position. And I think it was in very bad taste that it was placed on the agenda tonight with not having our CFO here.
I believe that our CFO sent us a budget in conjunction with the superintendent that provided for a $1.3 million increase from the city. Okay, that has nothing to do with whatever's left over from last year, because some of that is already encumbered. We made a budget, we passed a budget. Now the city is asking us to amend our budget and potentially amend it by losing $3 million, which is a $1.7 million cut from what we already approved. At what point is the city going to start paying their share? As seen in the report today from RIPEC, Pawtucket is one of the lowest per capita expenditures per student in this state. And when are we going to stop that? They're supposed to make up the difference.
over the years since the new funding formula, and they haven't.
Ms. Spinello and then Mr. Sherman.
So the $3 million that would go into capital reserve, if we don't put it into capital reserve, we no longer have money to do shovel-ready jobs and have money when RIDE says, if you have the money, you can do this to your school. So giving them the $3 million in order to get our $1 million that we need to educate our kids means we can't better our schools.
Mr. Sherman, are you okay before you go? Okay.
What I was going to say, you're correct. We have the fund balance from last year, 3.9, that we would be coming probably in June to move that forward into capital. As I said, and I did say, I probably said I think, but she did tell me the actual figures are projecting the year end because there's still some projects outstanding. The capital will be at 3.1. I do need to say this, that the capital needs to be at a minimum of 4.1 in order for us to continue the work on the bond the work that we've already started. So we would need to make sure that we have a minimum of 4.1 in there. But with that being said, the 3.9 added to the 4.1 would bring us back to what we were last year or a little bit above, which is why we've been able to do, as we heard earlier tonight in the presentation, so many of the projects, because a lot of those projects were those pay-go type of projects, and you have to have the funds there and to be able to turn it around pretty quickly. So you're correct in that. Yes.
Now, Mr. Sherman.
A couple of things. One is I'm still concerned over the fact that it was presented that if you give us 3, we'll give you 1.3. You know what? Why don't we just take the let them cut our budget to 0 once again, and we'll just take the 1.3 out of our surplus, our fund balance, and we'll fund our own budget. I went back because I saw the item and I reached out to the chair for some clarification. But I went back and I looked from FY15 through now. The incremental difference provided to the school department by the city of Pawtucket. Starting in FY15, 450,000, 1.5%. FY16, 134,000, 0.45%. 17 and 18, 500,000. Here's where it gets interesting. In 19, 948,000. This committee will remember that we agreed not to take the final payment of 948 from the city. The city was faced with some budget challenges. They were going to keep the 948 and return whatever was left after they balanced the budget. Nothing got returned to the school department. In 2020, 650,000 increase. Of that, we paid 250,000 in an insurance. So it was similar to this. They gave us 650, but we had to pay 250. 20 and 21, 0. In 20, we gave them back 1.6 million for the debt service. I want to read you from the debt services of the audit for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021. Debt service was over budget by 1.1 million and over last year by 1.6 million. The main reason for the difference is we prepaid some of our debt service payments, and I'm assuming this is a typo because it says in FY21, due to our surplus. So the city is prepaying debt service, but coming to us and telling us they won't fund our $1.3 million ask unless we give them $3 million worth of debt service. I don't see how anybody looks at this and says, this is a good idea. You know what? I agree with Mr. Knight. We were, and I know where this is going when we leave here, regardless of the vote, because of the comments I'm making. I know where this is going. But I was intimately involved in these budgets for a lot of years and was very collaborative with the city until we were being misled. And I'll say misled because I was told our budget request of last year was left in there, only to find out, and we all know how that story goes. But I think having not given us any money over the last 3 years, and when you balance it all out from 15 to now, what, on average, the city has increased our difference by 48,000 a year. If you take everything they've given us and everything we've given them back from 2015 till now, assuming as they give us zero again this year, they've increased our budget $48,000 a year.
And we can increase, and we've given them what?
Well, that includes the 48,000 is taking their 3.182 million, 3,182,588 from 2015 to currently. If you back out the 948, if you back out the 1.6 million, and if you back out the 2.5, averages out to 48, it comes out to 384,000. Over the course of those years, 48,000 a year. That's been the incremental difference coming to the school department.
Mr. Knight, did you?
My question is, what authority does the city of Pawtucket have to cut the budget for the city school department? And I'd like legal to respond to that.
Depends what you mean by cut.
Reduce.
And we've asked for 1.3 million. If they just level fund us and meet their maintenance of effort, that's not cut under maintenance of effort. It's just that there's no additional funding. They have to meet the city's obligation is to meet their maintenance of effort obligation under the statute.
Which includes the 1.3, because that's only 3.95 or something like that % increase.
Now, they can meet their maintenance of effort obligation with a level funding. The additional 1.3 million is not part of their maintenance of effort obligation.
But we can still go into a Carulo action if we need to.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, Mr. Moreno and then Mr. Charbonneau.
To the point that has I would be completely humble if we tabled this item. We have to be cognizant of the timing, and we'll see the day is tonight. You raised that we are probably served better if the CFO was here to answer.
Is that a motion or?
Yeah, that's fine.
There's a motion to table. It's been seconded by Mr. Larrabee. There's a motion to table by Ms. Well, I'm sorry. There's no motion on the table yet. Do we table just the item?
I did not hear a prior motion, so.
This is just to table the item.
Motion to table. There's no discussion on a motion.
Yeah, okay, yeah. There's a motion to table by Mr. Moreno. It's been seconded by Mr. Larrabee. Ms. Leslie, please call the roll.
Mr. Charbonneau. Ms. Grant. Mr. Knight.
No.
Mr. Larrabee. Mr. Marino. Ms. Doobie.
No. So we're back in I'm correct, that was 4-3? Yeah, okay. We're back in discussion on debt services payment, Mr. Knight.
My motion is to deny any debt service payment to the city of Pawtucket at this time.
There's a motion by Mr. Knight to deny any debt service payment to the city at this time, as in at this meeting, at this time, and it's been seconded by Mr. Charbonneau. Discussion on that item. Ms. Vanilla.
So
Okay. And it's nothing personal, but the person who represented the school committee at the ad hoc meeting is running for city council. And I wonder if that's a conflict. I'm just asking a question.
I don't think it's a conflict, and I would like to say that I asked Mr. Moreno to be there. And he has been on the ad hoc budget committee, serving as the duly elected deputy chair of this body, as he was elected in January. Okay. Mr. Moreno.
So just to address that, we are here all of us to serve as the oversight that we have been elected, the oversight to the department that we oversee, and that includes taxpayer dollars. And this item is using taxpayer dollars that we cannot use at the end of the day to address the operational needs that we have to return that to the taxpayers. And so I just think that in doing the MOU, it alleviates the ask of our 1.3, and it's a win for the taxpayers and it's a win for the school department.
I would like to speak. Now that I've listened to everybody, I thank you, Mr. Charbonneau, for presenting the numbers and giving us the context and doing the research to provide that. I've spoken multiple times here and written op-eds about the fact that it is extremely important that we fully fund education in Pawtucket, and that it is not it is mandated that that one is given every year in perpetuity. So I do see that there is that need. I also see that we currently do have money that could be serving to pay off debt service, or could be going, as Ms. Bonolo said, to future capital projects as we have been using it moving forward, or as Mr. Charbonneau said, to look to fill other gaps. I think that having a stable budget makes more sense than using capital, but I also don't think that necessarily having, sort of Damocles over us and making this very clear, like if you don't do this, you don't get that, is in the best interest of the school department. However, I would not vote in favor of no debt service payment at this time. I think that Ms. Grant did bring up that our CFO is not here, and I would want to hear her weigh in on what capacity we might have for doing debt service payment, because I am aware that although we are underfunded in the budget, we also have one of the strongest city supports for school construction in the state, if not the strongest, with the bonds that have been supported and passed through and the schools. So I do see that is why last year, when it was a 1.6 million ask, I believe it was unanimous, that we said this does make logical sense for us to use some of this one-time pandemic expense money to go towards this. So Yeah, so I voted against tabling because I thought that there's more discussion that could be happening here. But I'm not at the point where I would say that absolutely not to any debt service payment ask. Mr. Larby, and then Mr. Charbonneau, and then Ms. Grant.
Just to clarify, the surplus funds that's projected from this year and what's still left over from last year don't necessarily all have to go into a capital reserve fund where we are a little bit more limited in the way we use it. It is something that we could potentially use for our operation budget for this year. I just wanted to clarify.
Yes, I will have legal confirm that, but that is correct. It's the fund balance from last year, the 3.9, and the projected 1.8 for this year.
What we think we have, we still do not have that. So we can't say, oh, we've got a fund balance.
Mr. Charbonneau?
Just to clarify a couple of things, Madam Chair. One is, my understanding is that this body voted unanimously to agree to a $1.6 million give back to the city last year because we had those pandemic savings, as you indicated, but because it was also presented to this body that the city was facing a financial deficit, that the taxpayers had been unduly burdened by the pandemic. I think we all agreed to that. And that the city needed our help to limit a max supplemental tax increase. This body voted to give the 1.6 million. There was a supplemental tax increase. There was a reevaluation. And if I'm not mistaken, the city finished with a larger surplus than we did. If this committee thinks that the city's sitting on a $4 million surplus and us asking for a $1.2 million ask and being horse traded to do a $3 million debt service is good business, then we ought to reassess what we're doing here. Because if we didn't get the money this year coming out of what they did to us the last 2 years, with the surplus they have, we're never getting it. This will be the deal going forward. Anytime the school committee submits a budget, the city will say, we'll give you this if you do this. And that's a bad precedent to set. And I'll have no part of setting it from this seat.
I just want to say, I did state that I did think that it was in very bad taste that this was placed on the agenda without the CFO here, but it was done. And because of that and that being done, that's one of the reasons I did not vote to table it, because it's something I think this committee has to own. It was on the agenda, then we have to own it. And due to that reason, I think a lot of good points came out of it. You know, I think we have to remember, you know, we want to build these big, beautiful schools. But, you know, we need to provide the inside of these schools too. And if we don't have that money to do it, you know, if you think about it, we've basically lost that money for Shea and Tolman already. So whether they build this high school or not, if they do, it's still 5 to 7 years away. We need as much money as we can for all the Band-Aids that we're gonna have to put on these schools. Not to speak of the elementary schools that I've asked in all those meetings that we had and never received any answers about if we voted for this high school and supported this high school, what would happen to our middle and elementary schools. And I just have to go to assume that nothing will happen to those schools because I didn't receive any answers. No one answered to them. And that's one of the reasons I voted no to the high school. So we need this money as much as we get. And, you know, we're heading towards a recession if we're not in one already. The city's going to hurt. The schools are going to hurt. These kids are going to need more and more and more. And we need what we have. And you know what? You know, I think that's great that we get the $1,000 and, you know, maybe in 14 years, we'll have an extra $14,000. But who has that time to waste? We need to take care of our children in our schools right now. Every penny counts. And we all know what shape Tolman and Shea are in. And to get us through the next 5 to 7 years with Band-Aids and safety and even Dr. McWilliams said earlier in the conversation how quickly we had gone through that capital fund. And, you know, we should be very proud of ourselves. We started that capital fund because we don't want what happened to us as a committee, or the most of us as this committee, to happen to the next committee. When these schools like Potter's, which we just did over how many years ago, and it's still falling apart. We redid it and the outside is falling apart. We need all the money we can get. And we need to be able to keep up our Winters, keep up our Baldwin, and make sure these schools are taken care of the way they need to be, and not wait another 100 years or for a ceiling to fall in. It was placed on the agenda, probably shouldn't have been placed on the agenda, but now it's there and we need to own it. And I think we need to make the right decision. And I think this district, I think coming up, we're going to need all the funds we can get. And giving it away doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make any sense. So,
Mr. Larby.
Just to state for the record, I think the reason why I consider this was due to to be able to have the 1.3 and then have it stay within our budget, and it's something that is now like grandfathered in, and I think it gave me a little pause and gave me something to think about, hearing points from other committee members and thinking through our history of what the city has given this school district over the years, is not at the level in which I feel like it could be. And in general, we all know that there's issues with the funding formula and things need to change. And yes, this district is not funded in the way that it needs to be, from the state, city, federally. We do need more. I just wanted to share that.
Mr. Knight.
You said earlier that the city has given us so much money for our repair projects to the schools. It's not as much as you think, because 90% of that, in most cases, has been paid by the state. So if you look at the approximately $6 million in bond money that they've funded so far, 600 million in bond money that they've funded so far, the city has paid 6 million of that, or will pay 6 million of that, going over the next 20 years. At what point does this school committee just say, let's fold our tents, and why have a school committee if we're not going to have a budget that the school committee approves? The school committee approves the budget, not the city administration, not anybody else. If the city decides, and they never have until the last few years, to reduce our budget, we have the ability to call for them to call for a full Carullo audit and a Carullo suit. I don't want to do that. I'm sure most of the people on this committee don't want to do that. But at some point in time, we have to get what we need for our kids. And at what time are we going to do that? We need our capital reserve fund, which we created because we were told by RIDE to do so, to do our capital improvement that we've got going. We don't have a large budget surplus that we can reach into. We have a operating fund that we are fully underfunded for, number one, and fully obligated or allowed by the city to get the money. The city don't give us the money we asked for in a quarter. What are we gonna do? So what happens if they don't give us the 1.3 and we agree to give them the money on this? We're out the 1.3 plus the money for this? I don't think so. You know, let's be realistic. This is absolutely extortion. They're extorting our school children and they're extorting the people on this committee. You would be legally binding. We had an MOU previously for $700,000 in 2014, I believe it was, when Superintendent Silky was here, and we still haven't seen that money. So forget about MOUs.
I don't know the accuracy.
I do. Okay. And I'm sure Mrs. Manolo remembers it.
Seeing no further discussion, Ms. Lissy, just to clarify, the motion on the table was Mr. Knight's. Was to, can you please read the exact motion, Ms. Lissy? Okay. The motion is on the table. There's no further discussion. Ms. Lissy, please call.
Ms. Bonolo. Mr. Charbonneau. Ms. Grant. Mr. Knight.
Yes.
Mr. Larby. Mr. Marino. Ms. Doobie.
No. Okay, the motion carries 5-2. We are now on field trips for committee approval. This is the field trip we heard about earlier, I believe.
So,
Is there a motion to approve the field trip by Mr. Charbonneau? It's been seconded by Mr. Knight. Any discussion or further? I know we were able to ask questions earlier. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. And I just want to clarify, because I know Ms. Grant just got up, but the reason that we need to approve this field trip is because it is overnight or out of state, you know, that was the reason it's there. Okay. So, and then we're on to your items, Mr. Charbonneau, facilities subcommittee recommendations.
All right, and I apologize. I got my agenda and meeting documents all mixed up here, but the first couple of items are just that, updates. Winter's update, there's some slides in your packet showing the progress. We remain on time, on budget for a late August move-in. There were some questions in the subcommittee about parking lot resurfacing being done, and Colliers assured us that's planned for the end of July, in time to have the asphalt set and then get the teachers moved in. Baldwin, we a new proposed or updated proposed exterior design review. There was a fairly contentious meeting of the facilities committee a month ago or so. We gave the design team some feedback. They took it and really presented a much more elementary looking and feeling school to us. I want to commend Ms. Bonolo as she was a driving force at the last meeting, putting our design team on notice that she expected more from them. They certainly came back tonight and delivered more. Item 3, the Baldwin CMAR. So those first two items were just updates requiring no vote. The Baldwin CMAR proposal review and next steps was a vote by the facilities subcommittee to recommend to this committee that we proceed with interviewing Gilbane and Shamit. There were 4 proposals that were submitted for Baldwin for CMAR services. One proposal was incomplete in its submission. Legal counsel was brought in and they were sent a letter disqualifying them. 3 remaining firms, Shawmut, Downs Construction, and Gilbane. Of those 3, Gilbane and Shawmut scored the highest and considerably higher than Downs. And again, I want to commend Ms. Bonolo, Mr. Knight, John Cody, Dr. Koya, Superintendent McWilliams were the scoring team on that proposal. And it is our recommendation from the Facilities Committee that this committee call in Gilbane and Shawmut for an interview for CMAR services at Baldwin.
Is there a motion to approve? Sorry, can you restate calling in? There's a motion to approve the facilities subcommittee recommendation by Mr. Knight, and it's been seconded by Ms. Bonolo. Any discussion? Mr. Marino.
The 3 options that are here.
Those will be for review. Those were just, they were coming back to us because they were, like I said, they had a pretty difficult meeting a month ago with the committee. So they were bringing us back a few different versions to add some different color schemes and roof heights. That was a takeaway for tonight, and we'll vote on it at the next facilities meeting.
Okay. No further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ms. List, please call the roll.
Ms. Bonolo. Yes. Mr. Shabno.
Yes.
Mr. Knight. Yes. Mr. Larby. Mr. Marino. Yes. Ms. Doobie.
Yes, motion carries 6-0. So that was the approval to submit demo, right?
The item 4, Baldwin approval to
Okay,
submit.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Yep.
No,
To
no,
submit-
I was wrong. You're
To
correct.
submit demo drawings to RIDE School Building Authority. This is part of the process at Baldwin, and Colliers feels that this is just advancing the ball and keeping that project going. Certainly, we want to have it demoed shortly after the school year ends. So the next step in that is getting the drawings over to RIDE's SBA.
Been a motion to approve by Ms. Bonolo. It's been seconded by Mr. Knight. Any discussion? Are we all those in favor on this one, Mr. Knight?
Aye.
We have to do roll call. All those in favor? Aye.
No, you can't. You have to have it's monetary. You have to have a limit for it.
To submit demo drawings?
Yes,
Okay.
it's a cost.
Ms. List, please call the roll.
Ms. Bonolo.
Yes.
Mr. Shabno.
Yes.
Mr. Knight.
Yes.
Mr. Larby. Mr. Marino. Ms. Doobie.
Yes, the motion carries 6-0. The next one, Mr. Charbonneau, take it away.
The next one is district-wide fire safety upgrades review, discussion. The recommendation was to award, based on Mr. Cody's recommendation, professional services for the district-wide fire safety upgrades to Jensen Hughes. John, can you remind the committee of the amount?
The amount was $39,250.
In the amount of $39,250.
Motion approved by Ms. Bonolo, second by Mr. Larby. All those, just kidding. Ms. List, please call the roll. Oh, question. Oh, Mr. Knight.
John, does this include this year's upgrades to the fire code from the National Fire Board?
This is going to be anything that was connected to the 2018. When they look through the buildings, they're also going to determine in the last 4 years if any fire code had also changed. A few things have changed, which were intertwined into this plan, which I'm sure they'll pull out, and they're also going to update it, anything that has been weeded out as far as time constraints and anything that is current or new. They're going to give us a comprised report.
Up until what time?
Up until the end of this report, because they're basically just going to go over the report itself. It is their duty to look at other things, but they're going to go over the report to make sure we're doing what we needed to do.
It's 2018.
From 2018, correct. Sorry if I wasn't more
So
clear.
there may be more.
Ms. List, please call.
Ms. Bonolo. Yes. Mr. Shabno.
Yes.
Mr. Knight.
Yes.
Mr. Larby. Mr. Marino. Ms. Doobie.
Yes, motion carries 6-0.
All right, and before I go to number 6, I did want to just mention for some of you who may have come in late, Dr. De Silva, Joe De Silva joined us at the Facilities Committee meeting. He stopped in to recognize the group and the team for the ongoing work. He was really blown away by Baldwin. He had seen a couple of iterations of some designs, and I don't want to put words in Dr. De Silva's mouth, but he may have felt like we did at the first couple of design blushes. But he, you know, we appreciated him taking time out of his schedule to show up here tonight and address the facilities committee and his kind words. So I wanted to share that with all of you as well. The last item is Collier's project leader OPM proposal. This is for the ESSER funded capital improvement projects, the multi-site ADA toilet room upgrades, Shea High School window replacements, Slater Middle School window replacements, and Goff Middle School replacements. Collier's has been an important part of this team for a lot of years. I conferred with legal counsel that we could do this right off the MPA. It's an award to Collier's to oversee these ESSER-funded capital improvements in the amount of $274,000.
Motion approved by Mr. Knight and seconded by Ms. Bonello. Any discussion? Ms. Lissa, please call the roll.
Ms. Bonello.
Yes.
Mr. Charbonneau.
Yes.
Mr. Knight.
Yes.
Mr. Larby.
Yes.
Mr. Marino. Ms. Doobie.
Yes. Motion carries 6-0.
And then the last discussion item is the Lisa Ramsey pathway at Curvin, as it will forever be named now. Assistant Superintendent Ramsey was instrumental in coming to the facilities committee about, we were doing crushed stone for this walkway outside of Curvin. And she came back a couple of times, I think, suggesting that we do more. So
it was just going to be like gravel?
it was going to be gravel, yeah,
Oh.
compacted gravel. And that wasn't going to fly with Assistant Superintendent Ramsey. So now they have concrete, poured concrete, and it looks great. It really enhances that side of the building. So that was just a feel-good picture. God knows we could use a few of those.
And please pass on also to the Curvin community that the trees are coming in very nicely. I know that was a big thing that they planted
Yes.
last year, so thank you. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session, unless there are any questions on the pathway. In accordance with Rhode Island General Law 42-46-4, Rhode Island litigations, Solem Rosalino, the City of Pawtucket, buying through its treasurer, Sean W. Strobel, seal executive session minutes and adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Knight and second by Ms. Bonello. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay. So we will reconvene in open session. If we could please take a roll call. Ms. Bonello. Here. Mr. Charbonneau.
Here.
Ms. Grant. Here. Mr. Knight.
Here.
Mr. Larby.
Here.
Ms. Marino.
Here.
Ms. Doobie. Here. Let's see, 54 out of vote, 428 to executive session. The committee voted unanimously to seal the executive session minutes and to adjourn the executive session. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourned by Ms. Benola, no second by Ms.